Welcome back, my friends. We're here once again with Pastor Bruce Dowell, and we started talking last time about listening to the Lord. And there's so much in this that we need to actually go a couple more sessions on it. So one of the things that I want to point out here is that I know I have 10 things that I want to look at that we need to pay attention to when we're listening to the Lord. First, we need to do it expectantly.
Yes.
We need to do it understanding and actively listening to the Lord. We must anticipate with eagerness that He will speak to us. Second, we do it quietly.
Mm-hmm.
We do it, calm ourselves. The Lord says to us, cease striving and know that I am God. He says that in Psalms 46:10.
Mm-hmm.
If we are to hear from God, we must be quiet and let Him do the talking. Third, we need to do it patiently. Are you willing to wait on the Lord? The Lord doesn't always tell us all things all at once either.
Mm-mm.
Or instantaneously, but sometimes He speaks part of the message to us at one time and part in another. Other times we hear a message from Him only after we've been waiting for a season of time.
Yeah.
We need to realize that He has a way of doing it that makes us pay attention and comprehend what He's saying. We need to understand it, and that's why He doesn't always give it to us at once.
Well, also, he's not at our beck and call.
No, He's not. He's not at our beck and call.
He's the boss, we're the hoss.
Exactly. And that's one thing that we need to understand.
Yeah.
But in doing so, we need to look at it confidently. As we listen to God, we must be confident that we'll hear what we need to hear. It may not always be what we want to hear,
No.
but we can trust God to tell us what we need to know so that we can make decisions and change certain things in our lives for the ultimate good.
Right.
Because that's what we need to look at, is what the ultimate good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times that's beyond our scope of seeing. What is the ultimate good?
Probably most of the time.
Probably most of the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we have to do it dependently. If you heard the comment, do it as if your life depended on it. Well, and guess what? In some ways, it does.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the best out of your life, you need to depend on God to give you the right words.
Right.
And not just go in there and do what your own way.
Right.
And I can say this because I know in the past, a lot of times I would do it. Well, God, why aren't you answering me this way?
Yeah.
But then you got to be open. You need to approach Him openly. You come to God with hearts and minds open to receive whatever He chooses to give us. And to listen openly means to be willing to hear God correct us as well as comfort us. Because that's what we're going to Him for. He's our Father. To hear Him convict us as well as assure us, and to hear Him chastise us as well as to praise us. We need to understand that He's our Father. And that's what He's there for. Do we live a perfect life? In my case, I know it's far from it.
Right.
And I'm sure most others are the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to be attentive. You really pay attention to each word. And this is more than expectancy that God is speaking. It's listening to each word for all the nuances of meaning, all aspects of the message God's giving. When we truly listen attentively, we don't miss a thing.
Right.
But that takes concentration, and we need to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that means carefully. To listen carefully means to listen for the Ruach, to confirm that the word which we're hearing is a genuine word from God. We must put everything we hear to that test. Because we don't know, and we'll go into this a little bit later, we don't know always who we're hearing from unless
Right.
we test it. It must line up with the written Word of God.
Right.
And again, submissively. To listen submissively means that you listen with the full intent of obeying. When we go in and plan to obey what we hear, you obviously take care to understand. And submitting to God's Word is the only way you'll ever find genuine meaning and purpose in life. Only as you submit to God can you hear from Him clearly and be in a position where the Lord can do for you all that He's promised to do. And 10, reverently. A reverent heart stands in awe of God. It's when we realize what a privilege we have to hear from God and from the God of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a privilege.
Right.
I mean, if you realize how insignificant we are compared to the Creator of the earth and the Creator of us.
Right.
When we listen reverently, we listen with wonder. First, that God would speak to us at all. And then that God would invite us to be part of His plan and purpose.
Yeah.
And that's almost mind-blowing.
It is.
If we look at how great He is compared to how limited we are, and for Him to want us to be part of His way of doing things and part of His program, that really kind of leaves you in awe.
And how perfect He is and how imperfect we are.
That's a big one. We need to realize that. And that's why you've said so many times, you need to really listen to the Ruach, what He's saying, let Him confirm. And you've taken time, as you just said in our last session, you take time to understand what He's told you, to understand what He wants you to say to others, or if He wants to tell to others.
Right.
You want to understand, who is this for? Is it for one person? Is it for all the people? Is it for you?
Yeah.
And
that's a big one.
It's a big one. But we do that by paying attention to what He's telling us.
Yeah.
We do that by, first of all, paying attention to what He's telling us, and second of all, listening to the Ruach, who's confirming what He's telling us,
Right.
and is expounding upon it. So, Pastor, as you do all this, and as you mentioned that you've done all this, how can we bring it to the other people and let, especially our audience now, understand how important it is to understand these things and to get to know God, to get to know His Word, and to realize how important, even though we seem to be so insignificant, how important we are in His plan. Because we can't underestimate ourselves.
Right.
And if I'll go back to your book, you're looking at your self-esteem. Yes, we may be insignificant, but God esteems us very highly in order for us to work in His plan. And we got to realize that.
I was just thinking that as you were speaking, that's one of the very first steps. You have to realize who you are in Messiah.
Right.
And not to think more highly of yourself than you should, but not to think less than you should.
Exactly.
And that's a difficult task, because some of us are given to think more highly of ourselves, and some of us are given to think less than of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Probably more, numerically speaking, fall into the less than category. But they're both equally as off.
Correct.
They're both not acceptable for God's use.
Right.
He can't use the one that thinks that he sits at the right hand.
Right.
And he can't use the one that thinks he's, nothing.
Well, just as an example of that, I ran into a situation a while back that God gave me a word for a specific person. Well, the word didn't really make sense to me at all.
Yeah.
But I went up and I gave the word as I thought I'd heard it,
Right.
and it made perfect sense to the person.
Yeah, I know.
So it wasn't my understanding. God was just using me as a tool. But
Yeah.
it meant also that I didn't have to understand it.
Yeah. Even as you're giving the word, we had a young girl was here. She was about 12 years old, I think.
Oh, yes.
Somebody's granddaughter.
Right.
And they brought her, and the Lord gave me a word for her. And I forget what the word was at the moment, but I came down off the platform and walked over to her because I didn't want, 12 years old, I didn't want to call her out.
Right.
That wouldn't have gone well. So I went down to her and I had the word, and I wasn't sure how to word it yet.
Right.
Because that's just as important as the word itself.
Yes, it is.
And I started off by calling her Pumpkin, I think it was. Now I don't do that. That's not norm for me.
Right.
I don't go around calling people Pumpkin.
Right.
Or whatever, sweetie, or...
Right.
I just don't use those type of words typically. So I called her Pumpkin and gave her the word. And later I heard that Pumpkin was a very special nickname for her. Well, I didn't know that.
Right.
And that wasn't part of the word the Lord had given me. As I went, you still have to remain sensitive to the Lord for the delivery. So, Lord, what would you have me to, how should I say this?
Yes.
And because it was the pumpkin that was more important to her than anything.
Right.
That was the verification. That was kind of the code word.
Right, right.
That said, whoa, how did he know that?
Exactly.
You know, if I just given the word, 12 years old, she's a teenager. She could have easily shrugged it off.
Correct. Absolutely.
But when I called out that special name, which, like I said, wasn't part of the word the Lord gave to me.
Right.
It became part of the delivery.
Absolutely.
So you've got to follow, just because you get the word, great.
Yeah.
I always say getting the word is the easy part.
Yes.
Knowing what to do with it that's the difficult part.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Do I speak this from the front? Do I look right at her or call her out by name or whatever? Or do I give it as a general call and see if she'll answer?
Yeah.
You got to, all of those things are important.
Yes, they are.
And I go through all those gyrations almost every time. You know, unless the Lord has shown me what to do or how to do it, then I can skip, you know.
Correct.
C,
which
D,
he
and
does
E,
sometimes.
which
right.
he does do. But other times you have to go right through the gauntlet and go right through the list, the checkoff list, and then deliver the word. So just be sensitive. If you're going to be used of the Lord, you have to know it's not just getting the word and then you throw it at them like a fastball.
Correct.
It's how you deliver it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I often say it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
That is very true.
And yeah, that is so true. Even in spiritual things. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah, it is.
And then that's interesting, Doug, because when you read all of the different authors in the Bible, their own personality comes out.
Yes, it does. And it comes out for a purpose because each one gives its own twist on it, which gives a little bit different understanding.
Exactly. So God allows for our input.
Yes.
Without perverting the word.
Exactly. That's pretty amazing when you really look at it.
Well, that's very amazing.
Yeah.
So you've got to be the best version of yourself that you can be at that moment.
Yes.
You've got to, do I show empathy, or is this to be a harsh word? Because you can give a word just depending on how you deliver it. It comes out one direction or the other.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, just getting a word from God, just hearing the Lord's voice, you got to hang in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Go the full distance, discerning the whole way.
Yeah, there's just so much to this that, you can't stop at step one and think you're there.
No, that's just the first step.
Exactly.
You get the word, you get an idea. You don't even get the whole word usually. You get a thought, you go, whoa, that, where did that come from?
Yeah, that's what I had mentioned earlier. Sometimes he doesn't always give it all at once.
I hardly ever get the whole word all at once.
Yeah.
For me, I get the main idea, and then as I'm delivering it, I get more. Now, I don't know if that's because I've progressed to a place where if I'm going to move in faith, that's what's demanded. I know when I first started prophesying and getting words of knowledge and stuff, I would get it. I would get the whole thing. I would rehearse it in my mind how I was going to deliver it.
Right.
The whole 9 yards. And then that's how it came out. It was as if I was just reading. It's as if the Lord gave me a note.
Yes.
And I'm just reading it word for word. And then after a while, I'd get a word, and then the Lord would just add to it. And then I would reflect back, because that's how you learn. I would reflect back and I would realize the part that he added to it seemed to impact the person more than the part he gave me initially. Now, is that for the person or is that for me, my benefit?
Probably both.
Probably both, but I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about me.
Right.
So what am I going to learn from this? Well, what I'm going to learn from this is the Lord now is challenging me into the next level. We go from faith to faith, glory to glory.
Absolutely.
So now he's saying, you know what? I'm going to have you step out. Now I'm not giving you the whole word now.
Yep.
You're stepping out.
There you go.
So you step out. And then the Lord gives it to you as you go. And then you realize your track record's getting better, getting more. You're building your confidence in hearing.
No longer the 1 out of 4, but
yeah, maybe you've moved up to 50-50.
yeah.
And even in the 1 out of 4, the 50-50, you know what I've learned? The Lord does, because he's interested in both parties, he's interested in teaching me something.
Yes.
But he's also interested in speaking to this person.
Correct.
So even if you're at the 1 out of 4, you're going to give a meaningful thing.
That's true.
So you don't have to worry about it. You might say, oh my gosh, I'm going to be wrong 3 out of 4 times. Well, don't go there. You're going to be partially right. You're just not going to have the whole enchilada.
Well, and the word of the Lord never comes back void.
It doesn't. And so we have to understand that, because some people are waiting for every word.
That's true.
And they're afraid to move because they don't want to get out of the will of God. I find it's when you're trying to serve God, it's pretty hard to get out of his will.
Yeah.
We get out of his will when we're running our own program.
True.
When you're trying to do his bidding, you may miss the mark. In fact, the word says we all fall short.
Absolutely. We do.
So you're missing the mark on everything you do, really.
Yeah.
But even though you miss the mark, God is going to redeem it and turn it around, and that person's going to get blessed with something.
Yes.
And then he's going to show you that the person got blessed, so that you now can build your confidence in him that, you know what, I am hearing from the Lord.
Absolutely.
You have to come to that realization, or you won't move in prophetic utterance or word of knowledge or word of wisdom. You won't move in those types of gifts, and you may not even be open to moving and praying for somebody. I ask people all the time, go pray for this person. They go, I don't know what to pray.
Yeah.
I go, just go and start praying. You can pray, God bless them.
Exactly.
You don't need to have their address and their phone number and everything else. Just pray that God blesses them. If that's all you get, that's what you get.
Right. Well, I remember that's kind of the way I started out. I was just told, go pray for this person, and have no clue what to do. But you go and you start, and then the more you do it, the more you get, because God talks to you through this, or the Spirit talks to you through that.
That's it, exactly. And so people that are afraid to take that first step are the people that never move in the things of the Spirit.
Right.
Because you have to step out in faith.
Yes, you do.
And look, even for me, I prophesy all the time and get word of knowledge all the time.
Right.
But it's never a 100% for sure thing.
Yeah.
You think you're hearing from the Lord. And
Yeah.
my track record has gotten better. My track record is, the odds are in my favor these
Right.
days. But it's still like, are you sure, Lord? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think the day that it's not where you're saying, are you sure, you're no longer moving in faith.
Right.
And now you got real problems.
Yeah. Well, and when you talk about doubt, I know there's been many cases, I don't know if there are many or not, probably, but where you've given a word for somebody and nobody responded.
Yep.
And of those times, I know that there's been times later, after the fact, that people have come up and said, well, that was for me.
Yeah.
But I was just afraid to come forward or whatever.
Many times. I also think the Lord allows you to miss it from time to time. That's what keeps you humble.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, are we afraid of being humbled? If you are, you're not going to move in the Spirit.
Correct.
I think you have to, and even be wrong.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to risk that.
Yeah, you do.
And that's hard, and it's a progressive thing. So the Lord starts you where He gives you the whole thing in written form, and just to see if you're going to step out and just be obedient.
Right.
And then He stretches you a little bit into some faith, and then at some point in time, He allows you to give a word and nobody responds.
Yes.
Now what are you going to do? Go home and cry? Hide your head and never come out again? You see what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
You could.
Yeah, you could.
You could be so humiliated at that point, you just go, I'm never saying another word for God. That way, you set me up.
Yeah.
You made me look like an idiot.
And that's a human way of responding.
It is. But if you get through that and you go, you know what? I don't know what happened. Did I miss God? I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously I didn't think I was missing God. I thought I had heard from God, so that's why I spoke out. Now, did I miss the Lord, or did somebody not respond? Were they afraid to get out of their seat? It can be any of those.
Or was He just testing you?
Or was He just testing?
Yeah.
So you've got to be willing to go out on the limb for God. And He's going to test you in every one of those things. And then there's going to be times when you're blatantly wrong.
Yes.
Well, I'll get into that in the next one here because we're late here.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of that we need to look at. And when people start processing this on their own, there's a lot that they need to realize that, yeah, it's just a step of faith. So
Yeah.
that's all the time we have for this session, my friends. But please join us again next time as we continue this. And if you are interested in Pastor Bruce's book, go to PastorBruceDowell.com or to Amazon.com. And if you want to see our videos, go to www.ShilohMessianic.com. And until next time, Shalom.
Shalom.